Parents, when did you love your child for doing the wrong thing? I was folding laundry in my living room when a police car pulled up in my driveway, and an officer helped my 8-year-old daughter Alexa out of the back seat. She was supposed to be at school presenting her science fair project. Instead, she was walking up my front steps with her backpack dragging behind her and tear stains on her cheeks. I yanked open the door before they could knock. The officer was young and looked uncomfortable as she held Alexa's hand. My daughter wouldn't look at me and kept staring at her light-up sneakers that I'd bought her specifically for today. "What's going on here?" I asked. The officer glanced down at Alexa and then back at me with this expression that made my stomach drop. She cleared her throat and adjusted her radio before speaking in that careful tone police use when delivering bad news. "Ma'am, is there somewhere we can talk in private? I don't think we should talk about any of this in front of your daughter. It might trigger her again." Trigger her again. Those words echoed in my head as I sent Alexa to her room. She trudged up the stairs without arguing, and that's when I noticed the color red on her skirt. I led the officer to my kitchen and watched her sit heavily in one of my wooden chairs, like she'd had the longest day of her life. "Can I have a glass of water?" she asked, rubbing her temples. I filled a glass from the tap and handed it to her. She drank it in nearly one gulp like she'd been in the desert, then finally explained that today was indeed the science fair at Lincoln Elementary. Alexa had arrived early with her project about how different liquids affect plant growth. She'd set everything up perfectly with her poster board and her little plants in labeled cups. According to witnesses, Alexa kept checking and rechecking that everything was in place. The problem started when Mrs. Houston, Alexa's teacher, told her that her project paper needed to be rewritten in pen instead of pencil. It was a rule clearly stated in the science fair packet, but Alexa had forgotten. My daughter had begged for 5 more minutes and Mrs. Houston had allowed it. Alexa ran back to the classroom to quickly rewrite everything in pen. The officer paused here and took a deep breath. She explained that when Alexa returned to the gymnasium, she found Mrs. Houston standing near her project. Alexa became convinced that her teacher was tampering with it. She tried to turn on the grow light we'd bought specifically for the project, but it wouldn't work. The battery pack seemed dead, even though we'd put fresh batteries in that morning. According to multiple witnesses, Alexa started screaming at Mrs. Houston. She accused her teacher of sabotaging her project because she was jealous. She said Mrs. Houston had always hated her and never gave her the grades she deserved. The teacher tried to calm Alexa down, but my daughter was beyond reasoning at that point. The officer shifted in her seat, and I could tell we were getting to the worst part. She said Alexa was still holding the pen she'd used to rewrite her paper. In her fury and frustration, my sweet 8-year-old daughter had stabbed Mrs. Houston in the thigh with that pen. It went deep enough to require stitches, and Mrs. Houston had fallen to the ground screaming while Alexa stood there sobbing. Other teachers had rushed over to help while someone called 911. They'd found Alexa curled up under her project table crying so hard she couldn't breathe. She kept saying it wasn't fair and that she was supposed to win. The paramedics had to check her over before the police could transport her home. I felt like I couldn't breathe as the officer continued. She explained that Alexa was suspended indefinitely pending a formal expulsion hearing. The school had a zero-tolerance policy for violence, and what Alexa did counted as assault with a weapon. My 8-year-old had a police report filed about her. The science fair project she'd worked so hard on was evidence now. The officer stood up and handed me her card saying someone from Child Services might be in touch. I walked her to the door in a daze thinking this nightmare couldn't get worse, but as she stepped onto my porch, she turned back with one more piece of information that shattered me completely. Mrs. Houston's husband called the station while I was driving here. They're planning to sue for damages. He mentioned the figure of $800,000 for medical bills and pain and suffering. You'll want to contact a lawyer immediately. Full story on channel link below.